first thing people always ask me about spearfishing every day is, aren't you scared of sharks? It's the only story they really know about the ocean. Sharp teeth, deep water, blood in the current. But most of the time, it's not the sharks that swim around the wrecks that scare me. It's the silent shadows that live inside them. Goliath grouper, 600 pounds of territorial muscle. The wrecks I visit are so full of life that they're bound to attract Goliaths. They sit just inside doorways, behind beams, but we still have to hunt the wrecks, knowing that they're waiting to explode into action and eat our fish. They know what your gun sounds like. 1 second of noise, one explosion of motion. Then they've swallowed your fish and dragged it down with them, and hopefully you aren't tangled in any of the line. So when people ask me if I'm scared of sharks, I think of a completely different predator, one that's far more aggressive and takes far more of my fish.
Welcome back to another episode of One Up, One Down Adventures. We got Noah. It's just me and Noah today. Evan's at work. I'm doing unemployed friend activities on the skiff. We're back in Clearwater. We're going to see if we can't get a cubera or a black grouper. But we're going to be diving deeper than we have in the past couple of episodes. And hopefully, we're going to get on them. Stay tuned.
Welcome back underwater, everybody. Today was an exceptionally good day of diving in the sense that the conditions were just perfect, the weather was nice, and we got on some really nice fish. We didn't fill the boat, line the deck with fish, but we got plenty of fish to eat for dinner, and we got some really cool species. The challenge for this day, though, was the number of Goliaths that were around, which you'll see in a bit. But this first dive, we're warming up in the shallow spots. Just tons of pipes in a pile on the reef. We're kind of trying to look for good life, because on the trip before to Clearwater we had trouble finding those big mangoes. We ended up having to take some pretty long dives in these shallow spots in order to find fish, but I ended up seeing a mango right here. Shooting up at it like an uku from Hawaii was kind of cool, but the formula for these shallow spots ended up being laying low and looking in towards the structure, dropping towards the outside of it. So got that first mango of the day, landed and stoned, which was nice, and going back down for another one in a second, but not before I brain bleed and gut this one for meat quality and throw them in the boat. Alright, so I'm on my way down on this dive, and like I was saying before, the formula for us at least was to find a spot on the edge of the reef that looked like it didn't have Goliaths, because these reefs were just crawling with Goliaths on this day. And you can see how good the visibility is. It wasn't that hard to find a spot on the edge of the reef from the surface. We're diving at about 55, 60 foot here, and you just drop on the edge and you look in towards the reef. And I'm going to turn in towards it right now. Sometimes you look out to the outside just in case you're missing a hogfish, which tend to hang out on the outside. And I'm looking in and staying low to see if I can't get some mangoes to come up and check me out, because they have to come up and over the lip of the edge of the reef to even see me. They have to come really close because I'm hiding behind stuff to locate where I'm at. You can see also how tall this structure is with all these pipes. It likes to attract cobia sometimes too. I posted a video where I shot a cobia on a pole spear, and it was around these reefs with these just big, tall structures coming up off the bottom. Just grunting and scratching and, biding my time down here on the bottom until I see a nice mango, and I'm kind of following him with my gun and waiting for him to get close. And as he gets close, I see there's another one coming in right in front of him. And I don't realize this, but they cross paths. And I end up getting a double. This is my first double mangrove that wasn't inside a pipe or inside a piece of structure where you shoot under the ledge and you just pull out 2 or 3 because they're all just stacked up in there. It was my first true double mango shot. That was pretty cool, and you can see as I'm pulling them up that I stoned one of them and the other one's kind of still struggling a little bit. But it is pretty cool to see a double shot for me, especially on a dive that was that long. I think it was almost 2 minutes, like 155, 154 at this depth. And yeah, so that was the one I was aiming for in the back, and this other one just kind of swam in front. Both decent mangoes, just I normally wouldn't shoot the one in the front unless I was having a really rough day. So after we warm up, we moved out to the blue water. We're diving now in about 85 feet to the bottom of this wreck, and you can tell that we're a lot deeper because when I hop in here, you're going to see the water is very blue. But the problem with this wreck is the Goliath. So you'll see the layout of the wreck here. It's not as big as the spot that we were on before, but it's just crawling with these Goliaths. So there's one there, there's another out to the right, and really the strategy on this wreck is, you see those mangoes there, is you kind of just wait for them to come up away from the wreck as much as possible, and you shoot them, and as soon as you shoot them, you have to fight them all 80-something feet up to the surface. If you don't, you're probably going to get brutally Goliath. I've shot permit off this wreck and just got smoked. I'll link that video. And I've shot mangoes and gotten smoked. It's really hard to land fish when you're diving this wreck when it has this many Goliaths. Sometimes of the year that it doesn't have as many, but this trip it was certainly crawling with them. So on my way down here, and the goal with these Goliaths is not like, they're not gonna hurt you, but they are gonna smoke your fish and take it from you, and if you're wrapped up in that line, you're screwed. So I see this group of mangoes that's far up off the wreck, which is perfect, and I'm trying to get a shot of it before they swim down. It ends up coming into me, and I stone it. Ideal situation right there, because then it's a stone fish, and the Goliaths tend not to pay as much attention to a fish that's still. They like a fish that's struggling and swimming around, because then they know it's injured. A stone fish they just kind of ignore because they think it's already dead. Swim up with it, and that is the ideal situation for recovering snapper from this wreck. I've also shot black grouper off this wreck. I'll link that video too. But you got to be very sensitive about the Goliaths. It's also a really nice mango. I'm pretty proud of that mango. It's like probably 22 inches, 21. All right, on my way back down, and this is one of the strangest dives on this wreck, because as I said, I've shot black grouper off this wreck, but I've never seen a mutton in the Gulf until this dive. Since then, I've been doing a lot of offshore wreck diving, and I've seen quite a few mutton, and I'll be posting some videos that have some mutton sightings and stuff. I still haven't shot another one in the Gulf since then, but getting down on the wreck, and here I'm going to the flat side of the wreck that doesn't come up off the bottom as much, and I'm doing that because sometimes that's where the black grouper like to hang out, right? So there's an AJ right there, and I see out in the distance a big snapper, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I thought it was maybe a red snapper or something. No, it was a mutton. Line up on it, see the spot here that it's a mutton, pull the trigger as soon as I can see the spot, and it freaks out, and you can see how the line kind of gets caught on the wreck. So I'm pulling up, and it's not coming up with me because the shaft or the line or something is just barely caught on the side of the wreck, and I'm kind of freaking out because that means that this fish, you can see it's just dangling there and struggling. That is the least ideal situation for these Goliaths. I'm freaking out. I'm trying to tell Noah to dive to try to grab the fish or do something, and then I just start pulling on the line to see if I can't get it free from the wreck because I know my shot's good, and somehow by swimming forward I unhooked it from the wreck and was able to start pulling it up. You can see here the fish starts to appear there, and I'm pulling it up literally as fast as I can. Noah goes down to see if maybe he needs to put a second shot in it. My shot was good though, so I didn't really need one. So he just keeps going down to see if maybe one of those AJs followed it up or something like that. I'm just yanking this guy up as quickly as possible. At this point, I know that the Goliaths aren't following it because it's very clear. I could have been able to see. I don't know how it didn't get smoked by Goliaths in the time that I was trying to get the line uncaught from the wreck. But yeah, there's my first Gulf mutton. I was really, really excited about it. And I put him in the boat with that mango. And what's crazy is that mango is the same length as the mutton. It was a very big mango. But yeah, the mutton had a big lizardfish in its stomach. And that thing was in there after I had already gutted it, which was kind of crazy. So I gutted it, but that thing was just in its throat or in its mouth, or it had thrown it up while it was fighting or something, and was able to get it out on the boat. All right, so I'm taking another dive. So we've got plenty of snapper meat, which is great because I love snapper. But we had seen some almaco jacks around, and those are really, really great for sashimi, sushi style preparations. I like them in poke bowls, but I like everything in poke bowls. I like cobia poke. I like any fish you can do raw is better, I think, as poke than sushi. But there's the almaco jack. They like to come into the grunts. Pull the trigger, and my shot is terrible, like really bad. It's really low, so I have to play it super light. And when you have a bad shot and you don't think you can fight a fish up, it's best to just free spool your reel and let it swim away. Because then, instead of you pulling on it slightly and it risking it tearing out, you give it freedom to do what it's doing now, which is swimming away from the goliaths on its own. That way, the goliaths will hopefully give up like they did there because they think that the fish is much more healthy and less wounded than they previously had thought, and then you're able to pull it up. If you try to horse a fish up with a bad shot, you're either going to tear it out or you're going to get in this 50-50 zone where you're kind of pulling on it, kind of not, but you're stopping it enough that the goliaths can go and grab it and eat it. So it's better to just let it swim away from the goliaths if you think your shot's really bad. Let it tire itself out, and then you just pull it up as best you can once the goliaths give up. So there's how bad my shot was, just like barely in the bottom of the gut. It was ridiculous. But secured the almaco poke for the day. And take another drop here. There's Noah back there. The current started to pick up towards the end of this day. And so we would take a drop and end up like way back. But it wasn't anything nearly as bad as some of the current that we have dove in the past. One of the things that I really like about this wreck actually is that there tends to not be any current here, and it tends to always be pretty clear. It's never like terrible viz. Sometimes it's like 15, 20 foot viz, but it's never like undiveable, unshootable. So I get down, I'm looking at that grouper that's sitting next to the chum bag. There's like a pile of grouper, and I thought maybe one of them was a black, but they weren't. So I'm swimming down. You can see the one I'm looking at right there, but it is a gag. You can see these other ones spooking. It was just darker than the other gags, and it didn't have the black pattern, but I was curious about it. So I end up going down. Now I'm looking for mangoes, and I'm trying to hide behind things. I see a nice mango, line up on him, take the shot, and he runs my line all up around the wreck. Worst case scenario, boom, just gets smoked by a goliath. Immediately crunched. The goliath runs my shaft into the wreck. At this point, your best move is to just put the tension on and try to pull to keep the goliath out of the wreck. Because you have a shot, if you can get to the surface, of pulling the fish and the shaft out of the goliath's mouth, but not if it's inside the wreck, because then your line gets tangled and you can't put tension. I ended up pulling too hard and pulling the shaft out of the fish, which is fine. My shaft ended up being not bent, which is also great. And that is the end of the spearfishing content for today. I'll see you guys in next week's episode. Thank you all for watching. And be sure to check out the fish prints that I've been listing on the Instagram, which is linked in the description of the video. See you guys next week's episode. It's like